Hey guys, hope you're doing well this week and today. I'm so excited to be with you guys tonight. I'm so excited to be with you guys tonight just because it's been like a really long time. I think the last time I was with you was, I want to say like 2 months, but it could have been less than that. Maybe like the end of May. I think it might have been the end of May. So not exactly 2 months, but yeah. So yeah, I'm really excited to be with you guys tonight. I hope everything's going on well in your world and, you know, keeping safe and well. And yeah, I just thought tonight I would do more of like a conversational sort of message to you guys rather than a preachery one, just because I just felt with everything that's been going on with me, I would want to share it and be as transparent as I can, because I feel like I've always found that when someone opens up and is able to talk about maybe what's been going on in their life or what they're struggling with or so forth, that I have sometimes been able to relate to them. And it's been a lot easier to confront because you know that someone else is also dealing with that, or has dealt with that. So I thought, you know, let me get on here and be as transparent as I can and hopefully encourage you to know that you're not alone. And, you know, we're doing this journey together. You know, this journey doesn't stop and it doesn't end. You don't ever get to a point where you're like, I've made it, like in this Christian life, like I've done everything that I need to, and that's it. Like it's a continual work. It's a continual journey, a continual relationship, until we see him again on that day. And I think sometimes, I know for me personally, like I find myself forgetting that it is a journey and it's a relationship that I have with a father. And I mean, like, relationships can be hard in the natural anyway. So I feel like sometimes I forget that there will also sometimes be those hiccups with the relationship we have with God as our Father, and yeah, and just navigating that. And I feel like I'm kind of in that season or that time right now where it just feels like things are a little bit harder. I will be basing my message, this like little like spiel and time with you guys based around Luke 10 verse, I want to say 48. Let me check. Right, I said 48, I meant 38. So 38 to 41, with Mary and Martha with Jesus. But I will like go back on myself and explain why that verse, or that passage means a lot to me at the moment, and how I'm using that in sort of getting over, oh my gosh, my voice, in getting over where I'm at right now. So yeah, like in the last like month, you know, or so, there has been a little bit of difficulty in just really sitting down and having that still quiet time with God. And you know, like having those conversations with Jesus has been quite hard. And I honestly attribute some of that, well, there's a lot of factors that have played in there. Some of them have been natural, so like with everything going on, working from home has obviously been a little bit of a blessing, because, you know, I've been able to like save huge amounts of money. Like transport in London is crazy expensive, so I'm very thankful that I've been able to save money, and you know, not having to wake up at crazy hours. That's been a blessing as well, and just having more time to like sleep and stuff, and you know, being with my family and having more time with them has been great. But it has really been challenging knuckling down to get work done in a time frame that it needs to, a time frame I would like to do it in anyway. I'm usually someone who would go to a coffee shop or a study space when I need to get work done, outside of the workplace. It's been like that since when I was younger and studying. I could never do work in my bedroom. It would always have to be in the library or a coffee shop or something like that, a space where I know that I'm moving away from my household, where it's comfortable, and going somewhere to do the work. And that's just how I usually work best. And so it's really been a challenge to be in one space getting work done. And in doing that, it's only been in the last like a couple of weeks that I found that I've been able to structure myself properly. I'm not naturally very good at structure and organization and calendars and stuff. That's just not, it's just not where I've been blessed, you know. And I really pray that I do get a little bit more organized. I really hope so. There is nothing that God cannot do, so I'm not doubting that he can do that. I feel like with every year I grow older, I do get a little bit more organized, and I see the fruit of organization as well. So I guess it is a little bit more appealing. But yeah, so I feel like it's only been in the last couple of weeks, sorry, that I've become more organized in my workspace and my timings and knowing when to cut off to do work. But what's also been a challenge is that I work in a school, so as many of you probably know, is, you know, the end of the academic year, and in the last month there is quite a bit of work that needs to be done just to tie like loose ends together, and as the weeks just get closer to the end, there's just like more tying up of stuff that you need to do, getting that all ready for the end in summer. So it's been very busy in doing so, and there'll be some times where I've had to do work outside of work hours and weekends and stuff like that, which I naturally don't mind, because it's not all the time that happens. But it's just meant that I've had more work to do, and having more work to do has meant that I've just been more exhausted, and my sleeping patterns have been out of whack. Has some of that contributed to the fact that I would stay up maybe sometimes and watch an episode on Netflix, maybe, or watch like a YouTube video, or like, I don't know, like read a book or something. And it's probably been to my own detriment, because, you know, can't sleep as early as I'd like. But yeah, so because of that, and just like, I don't know, just feeling out of sync, I've not been able to, my sleeping patterns have just kind of been all over the place. And then also like a combination of not being able to go out and see everyone and like interact and like hug and do all that kind of stuff. I'm not usually a hugger, but I'm very much missing hugging people and just like embracing people and going for coffee and dinner. Like I've always been that kind of person who would much rather spend quality time with someone outside rather than texting and phone calls and all that kind of stuff. Although those have all been a blessing at that in this period of time, having that, you know, technology to be able to communicate. But that's also, it's funny how, you know, not doing much has almost been more draining than anything. But I think in a natural, though, those are the fewer things that have like kind of drawn my attention away from having that time with God, like just the exhaustion and sometimes just being frustrated with the way things are in this current time. And yeah, it's just it's been a little bit weird. And then I think spiritually as well, I've also felt that sort of like disconnect and felt a bit like tired, and it's been really hard because it's it's almost something that happens, you don't realize it's happening at the time until you get so far, that you're like, oh my gosh, like how did I let this happen? Like it'll be like one day where you're like, oh, you know, I can just do my Bible study tomorrow, or you know, I can do like that prayer call with that friend like tomorrow, or like, you know, like you have like little excuses like, oh, I'll do this, or I'll read my devotional like tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and that never happens, and then afterwards it's like 3 days later and you're like, oh, I'll just do it on the weekend, and then the weekend comes and then you're not doing it, and then it just becomes like a whole thing. And sometimes it just, when you're so busy, and you've just got so much that's like eating up at your time, or you're allowing, I should say, so many things to like eat up at your time, and not allowing that time to rest, it just like, it's almost like at the blink of an eye you realize how far everything's gone, and you're like, oh wait, like I'm not having my morning devotionals anymore, I'm not having my time with Jesus anymore, I haven't checked in with him for a while, I'm not maybe hearing the Holy Spirit as clearly as I usually do, and it's sometimes a scary place. I know for me anyway. It's like once, and I think when I got to that point when I realized that this time round, it almost was like I started spiraling, because I was just like, wow, I've actually allowed myself to get this far away. And obviously also a massive factor, not being able to actually physically go into church. Like I know it's amazing that we've been able, and we're so blessed that we've been able, Catch the Fire, been able to do like Facebook services on the Sunday. We've had basically something going on Facebook every single night, which has been really great in connecting with church. We have these youth services on Friday evenings, which have been so great as well. But there is something different about actually going in the natural, for me anyway. I don't know if maybe you guys feel that way too, and seeing people and connecting with people after church, and like and worship, and laying hands and praying with people, and just like, and just embrace with people. And I definitely miss that. I'm definitely grateful for everything we do have right now, and understand that it will be like this for a while longer, until God says, you know, it's, you know, he says what the next step should be. But I feel like in all of that happening, it's just like I kind of missed the mark, and missed the opportunity to allow God to lead me in this. Like I felt like I was leading myself for so long, and feeling exhausted all the time, and like trying to figure it out on my own, and like becoming like a doctor, and like googling everything, and I mean, you know, there's everything done with wisdom, and you know, thank God we have the internet that you can like, you know, research stuff, and there's, I'm not knocking that at all, because I use those tools all the time, but I was missing the source a lot. And I say source, I mean source like SOURCE. And there was just an absence after a while, an absence of peace, and just a very cluttered mind, and it was just very disorientating, and very what's the word, yeah, just very disorientated. And it was, I was also like almost annoyed at myself that I allowed myself to get to that point again, because you know, this journey with God, our relationship with the Father, our faith is a journey. And I think sometimes we can find ourselves forgetting that, or being harsh with ourselves because, you know, maybe something's gone wrong, or you failed to check in one day with God. And I guess sometimes there is like a religious element to it that sometimes you can fall into the trap into. I know that I certainly have, that sometimes I fall into this, in this what's the word, like into this routine of like religiosity or like religious mindset, and it's like, oh my gosh, like I didn't do this, I didn't read my Bible today, like no, like God's gonna hate me. And it's not that. Do you know what I mean? Thank God it's not that. Like our faith is not based, it's not works based. Like it was all done on the cross. Jesus did it on the cross for us, thank God. So that we have freedom in our relationship with God, that we can come straight to the Father. And it's just amazing, blows my mind when I really sit down and think about it. And yeah, it was just it I think in this time with everything going on, it can, as much as it is more of us being painted by society that we are maybe slowing down and not being able to do as much as we want to, we can find ourselves in this period of time actually becoming more busier. So like I got to a point where I was having so many Zoom calls and like and so many phone calls and FaceTimes and all that kind of stuff, and then I had work, and it just felt like there was a lot going on, and my capacity to do things, my strength and everything was like depleted. It got to a point, it was 1 week, I think about 3 weeks ago or something, where my energy was so low, I was not able to get any work done at all. Like, and it was really frustrating. And I knew in the back of my mind that if I went to God and I spent time with him, I'd be completely recharged, because that's what, in these presents, there is almost like a recharging that happens. There's like an exchange, like you exchange your burdens and everything that's on your mind and everything, and then he gives you a strength and a faith to keep going, even when things seem hard or and tough in a situation. It is the thing of like knowing that, I know that spending time with him, I know being in communion with him, and starting off my day with him, that just puts me in a better mood. I know that because whenever I've done it, I feel 100 times better. Like my day goes so much better when I align myself with his word and remind myself of who I am, who he calls me to be, what I'm called to be in whatever arena of life that may be, who I'm said to be my family. Like when I reaffirm myself with that, like it washes over me, and in my day I just feel so much more like at ease. Like whenever something comes my way, I'm able to just remember, oh wait, but I remember in the morning God said this, his word says this about me, the Holy Spirit has been whispering this to me, I know what Jesus did for me, I know who he is, I know what I can come to him for. And it just like it just frames your whole day. I know when I have my quiet times with him, which, may I add, I find very hard to stay still, and it's something that I'm still trying to learn, something that I'm still trying to get to grips with, of just being still. But I find that the more that you do it, the more it becomes easier, you know. But in previous times where I've done it in sustained periods of time of just being still, like there has been such a peace that has come over my life. there has been a joy as well when you're able to unload everything, and it's almost like an exchange. You unload all your burdens and all your worries and your thoughts to him. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be like heavy, like burdensome things. Sometimes it's just things that are just cluttering your mind that doesn't really need to be there, and you give that to him, and there's just an exchange of peace and of joy and of wisdom as well, sometimes for certain circumstances. And yeah, it's just, thinking over it, it's like, why did I ever stop? And it's just, I don't know, like, I guess it's just the human condition, and as Christians, like, not allowing this world to consume you, because the world is like here, but God's like here, like he's like everywhere, but like sometimes the world just like pushes itself in front of you, and this whole thing of like being busy, and it's just remembering, sorry, that you make time for the things that you want to. If you want to make time with God, and if that's something that you want, of course, sometimes it might be hard at first. I know, for me, speaking from experience, sometimes it can be hard to like schedule that time in. But if it's something you really care for, you do make the effort to do so, and that's with anything that you care about. You do make the effort somehow. And with God, like, if you're finding that in this time that you're not having enough time with him, it is just as simple as making that time, even if it's not waking up earlier, sometime during your day, set an alarm on your phone to just spend a portion of time with him. And it can be a small set of time that you're starting with first. Maybe it's 25 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour where you're saying, right, I'm just going to spend this time solidly with God, whether it be in the word or whether it just be lying down and just allowing that time of Jesus to roll through, and just be expectant as to what could happen, switching your phone off and just seeing what happens. And I know from experience as well, sometimes, the first time, the second time, even the third time, the fourth time, fifth time, it's just like, I feel like I'm wasting my time here. Like, Jesus, I'm here, I've made the time for you, and it seems like you're not really saying anything. Like, this is really great, but, like, I could be doing something else. But it's at that time where you're like, but then one moment comes, and it's like a breakthrough, and it's like, wow, like I don't know, like, you could do it so many times and you feel nothing, and then there'll be that one time and you're like, whoa, like, this was amazing, like I felt your presence, and I felt a peace, and I felt the weight that I was feeling be lifted off, and I felt like, the answer to what I was praying for is literally just like popped into my mind. Like, I know, I feel it in my heart, my spirit, what is I need to do now. And yeah, so I encourage you anyway in that, like, if you feel like maybe there's been times before where you've tried to sit still, you've tried to read your word, and there isn't that clarity, to keep pushing through. And I'm saying this for myself as well, allowing yourself the time to be with him, because those moments are so special, and sometimes it's good to remember as well, like the moments and times before that you've had with him, to keep those moments, keep those memories alive, to keep the fire alive when you feel like maybe you're going through a dry like patch, or you feel like things are not going the way that you want it to. Remember how it used to be when you were in communion with him all the time, and allow that fire to fuel you through this maybe hard season, to get back that rhythm of communion with him daily. Yeah. So anyway, we move on to Luke 10 verse 38 to 41. So I'm going to read that over in the New King James Version. So it says, "Now it happened as they went that he entered a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was distracted with much serving, and she approached him and said, 'Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Therefore tell her to help me.'" It's a bit funny. And Jesus answered and said to her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things, but one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen that good part, which will not be taken away from her." And yeah, I mean, there's not much to say there's probably a lot to say, but I mean, it's just pictured there. Like, Martha was so worried about getting everything prepared, and I can imagine her like being in the kitchen, like getting all the food ready, and like and getting the table set and all that kind of stuff, and make sure everything looks meticulous and neat and all that kind of stuff. And I definitely can relate to that, because I know, like, when I have guests coming over, like my mum is very much like, everything needs to be spotless and clean. Like, she's very much a clean freak anyway, but like everything has to be like extra meticulous and clean. So I can sort of relate to Martha, and I've kind of turned into that kind of person as well. Like, I need everything to be in good order when I have like a guest coming over. But Mary knew the deal. Like, she knew that Jesus was coming, and she knew that this wasn't a moment to be missed. She knew that there was probably stuff that her sister Martha had asked her to do, and they'd probably come up with a plan. Like, Martha was probably said to her, "Okay, Mary, you know what the deal is. You need to be doing this. I'm doing this. You do that. I'm doing all the cooking. Mary, you need to be like cleaning the floors," or something like that. But when Jesus came, she was so like enamored by his presence and the peace that he carried, and the joy that he carried. Like, I can just imagine like the chills that she probably felt, and the gravity and the pull that she had towards him. But it's only something I've noticed, it's only something you can acknowledge if you allow yourself to. You can be so busy that you can be in amongst the blessing and in amongst your next miracle and your next encounter, and you not even realize that it's there, because you're so busy with everything going on. You know, those things that you've been praying for, the answers may be literally under your nose, you know, and you don't realize, because you're so busy, or you're so consumed in like organizing your day to make sure that you don't have moments alone where your mind's racing and you are having to overthink everything going on. I know that I am definitely that. I've found myself in those positions where I would rather make sure my day is like fully planned and I have loads of stuff I'm doing, so that I don't have to be alone thinking about things and just being alone with your thoughts, because sometimes that can be real difficult. So I definitely can relate to that, but I also know that I don't ever want to be in a position where I'm like Martha, who's so consumed with making everything look right and making everything seem like it's right on the outside, and so busy, like finding myself stuff to do that doesn't even need to be done. And I miss Jesus. Like Jesus was in, like, can you imagine Jesus was in the house? Like imagine Jesus walked into your house. He's walked into your house. Son of God, Jesus has walked into your house, and you're so consumed with getting everything ready that you're missing the whole thing. Like you're like you're missing it. You're missing out. And even for me, that's like challenging to like even comprehend, because I find that in the last couple of weeks and month that I've been so consumed that I've been missing out this time with God. I've been missing out these moments, and I thank God for the grace that He has, and His mercy, and everything, that even in those moments that I've missed, that His love for me has been constant, and His thoughts towards me have always been good, and that in my busyness He's still kept me, and He's still provided for me, and he's still been so good to me, even when I failed to like acknowledge His presence at times, and done everything else to make it seem like my life is all together, without actually like spending time with the one who's even made that happen, the one that's allowed breath to be in my lungs when I wake up in the morning, that's allowed me to be in good health, that I've been able to maneuver and do everything, and who's given me provision, that I've been able to still be able to work from home, and there's all these little things that when you dissect and you take apart, it all ties back to God. So yeah, like I know this might have been really like jumbled up. I'm a little bit of a scatterbrain sometimes, so I hope you guys have been able to track my thoughts, but I hope you can actually see that this is something that I'm still like getting to grips with, and it's very much just this speaking has not just been for you guys but also for me as well. Like I'm like getting understanding as I'm speaking to you, so I hope that's brought some clarity to you guys, and has helped if you've been feeling in the same boat of just not making the time for Him. And I just really hope that as I'm also get into a space of understanding that God's always there just waiting. Jesus is always waiting for us to commune with Him, and to be with Him. The Holy Spirit is always like, when we wake up, He's like there waiting for us to acknowledge Him. That I just pray that we actually take that time to do that, schedule it. We live in such a busy like sort of culture. Use the technology around you to help you. If it means scheduling it in your calendar on your phone, do that. Putting alarms on to remind you, do that. Use what we have, utilize what we have to be able to honor Him for everything that He's done for us and continues to do for us, even when we don't see it. But yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys with that. I hope this has helped you in some way, and I hope that as things are moving on in the world, and changes are occurring and there is more movement, that we find ourselves actually slowing down. That's definitely been on my heart anyway, to slow down as things are starting to pick up again, and to take the time to really seek him and be with him and enjoy his presence. There's a presence to be enjoyed, not endured. Yeah, but bless you guys, and I will speak with you guys soon. Love you loads.